Okay.
Hi, this is Wendy Pini, and I'm here with my friend Edgar, and you are watching Kari's Crowdfunding Corner.
What's wrong with him?
His girl just broke it off.
It's her father. He doesn't want her dating a zombie.
Why? What are they, demons?
She is predeceased.
An outsider?
Man, you're asking for trouble.
She broke my heart.
You're a zombie. Technically, you don't even have a heart.
After all of the great cinema that we brought to the world, and we still get no respect.
I don't know why he doesn't like me. I'm responsible. A full-time job.
You work at a haunted house in October.
I'm trying to be healthy. She's a vegan, so...
Wait, you're giving up meat?
Oh, come on.
What are you gonna do? Attack a farmer's market to try to impress her?
Now, if he was a vampire, you'd have a much better chance with her death.
Yeah, those pretty bastards.
I didn't think this would be that hard.
Hard. Man, I'm a zombie and I'm black.
Here we go.
I blame the educational system.
I blame the media.
I blame George Romero.
Oh. How could you be so disrespectful?
Coffee?
Zombies don't know much, but they do know good coffee. Deadly Grounds. It's coffee to die for, and zombie approved.
Who's George Romero?
They just have some coffee.
Hey, everybody. Happy, which day of the week is it? Thursday. Happy Thursday.
What did we just watch?
But Deadly Grounds Coffee is our sponsor.
I love it.
Yeah. You can tell I got the horror thing going. And it follows me. But happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the fourth show I've done in a row this week. Aaron is with me. It's his third. And we have got the amazing Wendy Pini with us, and we're going to be discussing her book, Masque of the Red Death, because it's up on Kickstarter right now. And it is so gorgeous, everybody. And as we were discussing before the show, we'll get into it in a little bit. It is so relevant right now, too, to have this book out. So, hi, Dylan. Dylan has been with us all 4 nights as well, visiting. Love to have you here. So how are you doing tonight? Dradatosker loves Edgar, by the way. They're going to be buddies.
Well, they have their own way of communicating with each other.
I feel very alone over here without one. So next time we do something like this, I'll have something prepared to bring with.
Well, you've brought your smile.
There you go.
All right. So, Wendy, you've been in this business for a very long time, 1974, I believe, and just going crazy. And we have all the Elf Quests behind you, which is just wonderful. And guys, if you haven't gone and checked out ElfQuest, go to the elfquest.com website. You can get all the things from the different books, but you can also have fun stuff like, this is Aaron.
Oh,
and this is me. We made our own little avatars. And they're so much fun. You can have there's just a ton of great stuff over there. So we're gonna focus on Masque of the Red Death, but we can't have you on without bringing up ElfQuest.
No.
So,
They are two completely different worlds, but they come from the same heart.
yeah. And it's a beautiful heart. You are such a sweet. So so tell us about how when you first got this started, everything that motivated it. You were giving us a little bit before the show, but let's let everybody else hear about it.
In 2006, Richard and I were at a con in the Midwest, an anime con. And down at the end of Artist's Alley, there were a group of fangirls, just adorable, like in their late teens, early 20s. And I went up to them and I said, what would you guys think of a manga-influenced graphic novel that was based on Edgar Allan Poe's Masque of the Red Death and was boys' love? They shrieked. They went nuts. Ah! Okay, if I can get that kind of reaction just suggesting that, maybe there's a possibility that this will be something I can pursue. We had a period with ElfQuest where it was optioned by Warner Brothers, and that was a 4-year option. And Warner Brothers told us, don't do anything new for throughout the option. So I had time on my hands, and I thought, that's the time to start working on Masque. And so I already had the idea for the story worked out and the characters, and I was tremendously influenced by early, they used to call it yaoi. Now it's called boys love. And
Okay.
really, it's just, I was just fascinated with the beauty of the artwork and the relationships, and wanted to try my hand at it because it was something entirely different from ElfQuest. And so I started it. It started coming out in 2007, late 2007, early 2008, as a web comic. And it took me till about 2011 to finish it. And once I had finished the web comic, I realized that this thing is very theatrical. It's like a musical. And I started thinking about it as a musical and started working on a libretto. And I met an amazing young composer, Gregory Neighbors, already an award winner. And we worked on it for years and years, and he completed the score in 2022. And the webcomic being completed, all the artwork from the webcomic became the graphic novel. So that's how this whole thing evolved, as both a 400-page graphic novel and a Broadway-style musical.
I love that so much.
It's
I
pretty
was
amazing. Yeah, it seems so organic with how it just became this whole thing with what you were trying to explore.
It's true. It's true. Unlike ElfQuest, which is really carefully planned out between Richard and me, Masque was my own thing. And I basically made it up as I went along. Each time I brought out an episode of the webcomic, the dialogue and captions were written for it during that week. And so it was rough and it was raw. And in a sense, it was darker. It adhered more to the darkness of Poe. But when it began to evolve into a musical, Gregory and I and some of the other people we were working with realized, people won't sit through a 2-hour musical if they don't like the lead characters. So we went back and revisited the script and made sure that there was a real strong emphasis on romance and the relationship between our two romantic leads, Anton and Stefan. And there's Anton. Isn't he a beauty?
Yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing.
His model was Timothy Dalton from of The Lion in Winter.
Oh
Did,
yeah.
did you ever see The Lion in Winter, Kari?
I have not.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's
Otherwise,
gonna be on my list.
yeah, I think you would have squealed if you had seen it because Timothy Dalton is just so hot in that movie.
Okay. Here we have a couple of the other characters. I'm trying to get. We have so many people. Hi, hi, hi,
Hi,
hi.
everybody. Welcome. Welcome.
Hi. We love you. Thank you for coming.
Hey everybody.
Edgar and the squirrel say hi too.
Edgar loves an audience. Yeah.
Yes. Ratatosker just drinks and waves, but
Yeah.
another. Hello.
Okay, so this page is the very first meeting of Anton Prosper and Stefan Kabbalah. Anton here is 12 or 13, and Stefan is 10 or 11, and they meet under rather strange circumstances. The woman in the final panel is Stefan's mother, Madame Kabbalah, and she has become the major villain of the story. As of the development of the musical, we switched it over so that Tono Tranquil, the wicked CEO of Tranquil Corporation, is also a villain. But we gave the bulk of the villainy to her.
Okay. And this is just somebody who is so in love with being alive.
This is Bunch, Bunchh, Bunch. And Bunch describes themselves as a little bit of everything, and they truly are. And considering that Bunch was created back in 2007, before this type of character was frequently represented in comics, I'm a little proud of that.
You should be. This
But
is you are
yeah,
very forward thinking and very representational of
all,
like in a positive fashion. It's
all
it's so important.
because
And it seems like so much of this is current now, is top of mind, top of the news stream, top of what everyone is thinking about, dealing with. Um, and so much of it was created a bit ago, right? So it's interesting that now is the time that it's coming out when it seems most needed.
if there were delays in getting the graphic novel out for one reason or another, our relationship with Flesk Publications, which goes back years, and we have done such amazing art books with them. And then John, we introduced John to Masque, and we talked about it and discussed it, and envisioned what it could look like as a fully realized graphic novel with beautiful packaging. And it really is, it has to do not only with the time being right for it, but with Flesk Publications and John Flesk being visionary enough to publish it.
And like you're saying, the time is absolutely right
Mm.
because
You see,
dealing with the
this is perfect. I'm glad this page came up. This is Anton and Stefan as adults. They have met. They are on their journey of, they are both scientists who seek immortality. And they are working on something called atomones, which is a form of nanotechnology that can keep your body in perfect health indefinitely. And they both intend to keep this a secret, but something terrible happens, and this nanotechnology falls into the wrong hands. And because it goes into the wrong hands, the formula goes wrong, and it launches a terrible biotechnical plague. In Edgar's original story, it's a metaphor for cholera, the plague of cholera. But we decided to take Masque into the far future, and so this is a biotechnical plague brought about by science gone wrong.
What was your creative process like in that, looking at the source material of Poe's short story and what you were originally drawn to there, and then what you ultimately wanted to say with it, and create with it?
Well, it began with the visuals, being tremendously influenced by manga and anime at the time, um, and the possibilities of character design and use of color to tell the story. One of the most important things about this graphic novel is how color is used, because the colors are all associated with different emotions. So when you see a color on the page, like for example, red is associated, this is the black chamber of choice, but the predominant color in it is red. So
Mhm.
a lot of red in Masque, it has to do with the choices the characters have made. So, so going back to your question, um, I really wanted to bring the Asian influence in, and in doing so, in creating the designs, it just went in a futuristic direction. It's, some of the very earliest designs for Masque, I was back in the world of medieval times, and it didn't quite satisfy me. Roger Corman and I know you know that name,
Hmm.
an amazing version of Masque of the Red Death with Vincent Price back in I believe it was 1960. And that was set in medieval times in an unknown kingdom. And it's beautiful. But it didn't quite satisfy me. It didn't quite enable me to say what I wanted to say with the story, because the main thing I wanted to explore is what has to happen to a man's heart that he can turn his back on the suffering of the world and party with his friends while a terrible plague is going on outside and people are dying. You know, where does his responsibility lie? I wanted to explore that and to find out what could happen to a person that they could do that. And all of that questioning of the story led to a futuristic telling of it.
Future
That's
is always. Oh,
awesome. Yeah. No, I was just thinking about what you were saying. Go ahead.
Mm,
no, the future is always a great place because you can do whatever you want with it.
yeah,
It's there for you to choose how it
yeah,
gets set up, so it makes for a great canvas. If
yeah.
and
Gives you a lot of freedom. You're not tied down to current events. You can just let your imagination soar, and I did.
And
and
there's
those
so many parallels between current events and what you're presenting here, as future events.
That's a little terrifying, isn't it? Don't you,
It very, very much so.
Edgar? What did you do?
shame on you, Mr. Poe. Shame on you.
He's like, oh shucks.
Oh,
um, yeah, we're looking at a page right now, which is a party page. Anton Prosper, who is the equivalent of Poe's main character in Masque, Prospero. And that's the only named character in Poe's story. I had to come up with all the other names for the new characters that I developed in the graphic novel. But so Anton Prosper is this incredibly wealthy recluse. He is a scientific genius. He has invented atomones, and both he and his lover Stefan are now immortal and feeling fine, and they are partying because it's Stefan's birthday. And so Anton throws a month-long, all no holds barred party for Stefan's birthday. And so this page is just the beginning of the party. As you can see, it's already pretty wild.
and I can see how easily this would be able to be turned into a musical. Had
Oh,
that
yeah,
inspired some of what you wrote this as it comes in here?
exactly.
So
So, in fact, on this page, there are some of the lyrics from one of the songs in the musical.
I had to steal for um my little I can't remember what you call that little thing under there. My little comment underneath there's no such thing as consequences from when you wear a mask
Uh,
because we we were going to talk about I going to look at some of this a little bit more, but we'll go back and talk about some of like the relevance again.
yes,
So here you have the ultimate page in Pose where it's coming in. It's just like, oh my God, what's happening? So
this is a direct quote from the Poe story. There are throughout the graphic novel, there are sprinkled direct quotes from Poe. I didn't want to overdo that, but there were just moments in the story where it was really appropriate to hear from the master himself. And so now was acknowledged the presence of the Red Death. It had come like a thief in the night. And this is the moment of Anton Prosper's downfall. A very tiny mistake that he makes launches the downfall of everybody in the mansion who had been partying with him, which is just exactly like what happens in the story.
yes, and you were right before it. when she first hopped on it, she was like, "You look like somebody who probably really like this." And this is one of my favorite stories because I've worked on different little things with it. None of mine have gone in very good places, but this is amazing, and it's so lovely too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah,
And on this
I
page, grotesque as well, but it's
grotesque.
still
Some of the pages, yeah, are jarring with, the juxtaposition of the images and the way you put it together. It has a definite effect when you're looking at it that you could tell that you wanted to come across in both the artwork and in the design of how it's laid out.
Well, absolutely. Here's the thing. ElfQuest, which I'm best known for, is a very positive, full of light fairy tale. It presents a positive image of how people could treat each other. It's full of love and light, and it's my life's work. But Masque is the love of my life because it's an exploration of the shadow side. It's I wanted to go as deep into the darkness as I could as a contrast to what I had been doing all these years with ElfQuest. An awful lot of people don't know that I'm actually a horror fan and have been most of my life. And I love monsters and I love horror stories. I'm not a big fan of slasher. I like psychological horror better, like
Mhm.
Hill House, or stories that delve into um, the horror that lies within man's soul and what mankind is capable of. And there's really never been a writer better than Poe for examining the mankind generates its own darkest shadow.
yep, as Desert Rat says, the monsters inside us.
The
Very well timed.
Us, yes.
I I'm with you on that. I don't mind slashers, but I don't necessarily. I'm not there because I don't need the jump scares or the blood. I like the psychological stuff as well.
It's
Um,
scarier. For one thing, it's scarier. And
yeah,
I think that's why in the graphic novel, I wanted to build the horror slowly. That's why it's 400 pages, because the first thing that had to happen was I had to get the reader to care about the characters. Because the more you care about the characters, the more you get the chills as to what happens to them as this whole thing unravels and
Mhm.
the horror really plunges in it at the end of the story.
The structure of writing horror, I think, is interesting because it is that roller coaster. So,
Yes.
as a creative, you have a lot more leeway of building up and releasing and building up and just
Yeah.
from a story point of view, from a reveal point of view.
Mhm.
Um, and it seems like that would be for this particular story a lot of fun and sort of creative freedom to explore. How do you want to lay that out?
Oh, yeah. Well, again, a wonderful element of the story is the seven colored chambers that Poe goes into great detail about. Because interestingly enough, and I haven't heard too many people talk about this, the colors of the seven chambers reflect the chakras. In certain spiritual disciplines, they talk about the chakras. So white for truth, purple for spirit, blue for words, green for feelings, yellow for power, and orange for passion, and red, black for choice. And so having having those color tools to work with, I could stage different scenes to be really romantic, beautiful and romantic,
Mhm.
or terrifying, depending on how the color was used.
and as
Yeah.
stated there, you do this perfectly.
Thank you.
So, um, we were talking and we kind of jumped off. By the way, while we're on the horror thing, though, as you mentioned before, if you guys haven't seen all of the Edgar Allan Poe films done by Corman and Price way back in I think it was about the 60s in that area. You need to go see
Oh,
them. I'm pretty sure you can see them for free these days.
most of them
I
I
are
think you
streaming.
can.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
are streaming, and they are classics, and they look and sound far more expensive than they were. There was no producer who could stretch a dollar like Corman could.
Oh, he was the king of the cheap. The way of reusing sets for movies and everything that he did. It's
But what he did
incredible.
never looked cheap. It's
Mm-mm.
the opposite. Another favorite of his, of Corman's, that was a big influence on me was House of Usher, because
yes,
Mhm.
because it was there that he actually used color. I mean, even more densely and more suggestively than he does in his own version of Masque of the Red Death. I think he only had the budget to do 4 of the colored rooms in his version of Masque, not the full 7.
And
Um, yes.
Corman, if I'm not wrong, I'm not sure, but I think he also did the first Little Shop of Horrors, right?
Oh,
Didn't he
sure.
do the Little
Shot
Shop of
3
Horrors
days.
movie that became everything that it is now and became the musical, speaking of
Oh yeah.
musicals that it is now? Yeah, and that was a black and white when he did it as well.
See, it's
Um,
kind of amazing how
yeah,
Poe automatically lends himself to musicals.
I,
um, yeah.
I loved how they kind of screwed around with. They didn't necessarily stick with the exact story in some of them. I noticed because
Mhm.
like
Oh,
the Pit and the Pendulum really didn't have anything to do with the story of
yeah.
the Pit and the Pendulum, but anybody who was in Mr. Wilberding's class in Logan View back in the day when I was going there will forever remember hearing the haunting background of Nicola.
Nicole,
And
Barbara Steele.
yeah, that just
What a woman.
shivers to this day. And the final scene, those eyes, you're just like, and like you said, these were no budget movies, but they were so good.
Oh, and
Vincent Price had a lot to do with it too, but
you had Les Baxter's scores on top of it. Les Baxter, more people need to know about him. Super Stravinsky influenced. Stravinsky is just all through his scores. But you brought up the subject of adaptation because yes, Matheson took a lot of liberties with Poe. More in Pit and the Pendulum. He stuck pretty closely to House of Usher. Um, in adapting a Poe story, my goodness, you can go in so many different directions if you just keep hold of the backbone, the idea of how the horror builds, and,
mhm.
and stay with it. You can take some pretty incredible side trips in terms of your settings and your mood and your characters. Um, but but you want to sustain, as I did in the graphic novel. I wanted to stick to the destiny of the characters. It's even though I have created a pair of lovers that you really root for and you want them to make it through the story, they have to be true to the Poe uh, through line. They have to meet their destinies at the end of the story. But as John Flesk, my publisher, points out, where I deviate from Poe the most is that it isn't death that wins in the Masque graphic novel; it's love.
I
well,
think that's really interesting
darn it.
and powerful.
Thank
The
you.
the way you can look at it and reinterpret it in a way, but still be, you know, true to the source material, but take it and interpret it in your own way and tell your own story through it. It
Mhm.
just sounds like you did a blend of not being too beholden to the source material, but loving it so much that you were incorporating all of the major aspects of it into the work.
I couldn't have put it better
Yeah.
myself. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, it's really incredible, and you can tell that on the page when I look at the sample pages on your Kickstarter.
Mhm.
Just the way that it emotes that, and especially through like you were talking about your use of color, I found really fascinating because I particularly love um, you know colorists and the way what they bring to a book, what they bring to a comic and a story. I find really interesting in the meanings of colors and how it pertains to and can change the whole mood and style, right? And you do that with all
Oh,
your work. It seems color's been important for all your pieces
oh yeah.
of art that you've created. Color
Oh,
plays a huge role.
yes. Yes. And music. I never work without music on. Um, the let's see, where did I want to go with what you just said about color? Um, see, where were you coming from a moment ago?
Oh, the use of color and being beholden to the source
Being
material.
beholden.
But
There,
yeah.
that was the word I was trying to remember. Because when you do an adaptation, you want to be respectful. You want to be respectful to your source, but you don't want to have a yoke around your neck
Hmm.
of, oh, I can't, you know, I can't deviate that far. Um, that that never bothered me with this because I knew that the ending had to be cathartic and get everyone to the place they were supposed to be. It needed to be a Wuthering Heights level tragedy, you know.
Hmm.
But the wonderful thing about tragedy is that in an odd way it can be very uplifting. You get a catharsis, you feel that fullness in your heart when it all works out. When Romeo and Juliet are there together on their beer and you're just like, oh my god. you you have this wonderful feeling of a strange satisfaction that it all worked itself out in some way, even if it what meant the end
Hmm.
things. Um, tragedy makes you stop and think, just like the clock in the story as Poe wrote it, made the partiers stop every once in a while and just listen to the sounding of the bell of the clock. you know the idea of stopping and thinking and really contemplating mortality. you know
Yeah,
it's it's
that's awesome.
wonderful, delicious stuff to work with.
It's interesting because sometimes a tragic ending can be almost more realistic, or to a
Mhm.
person who's reading it going, "Oh, a happy ending. How could it be a happy ending? How can this wrap up so well? How could this really happen?" And an ending that's tragic or an ending that's somewhat mixed or open-ended, seems more true, you
And
know.
a lot of that in horror. you know
Mhm.
I mean, oh gosh, think of Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca. You know, you
Yeah.
couldn't say that darn thing had a happy ending. Yes, the hero and heroine survive. They are alive at the end of the story, but they've been so changed and their souls have been so ravaged but by what happened in the story that nothing's ever the same again.
Mhm.
And thus you do have tragic elements.
Yeah, I go back to early Hitchcock a lot. I mean, the early Hitchcock stuff before he was doing even Vertigo and Psycho, when he was doing like Lady Vanishes and Strangers on a Train,
Oh yeah.
that was pretty detailed writing and creative, stuff.
Oh, extremely so.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, Kari, you've been kind of quiet, and I'm just wondering about your love of horror and if what we're saying is, resonating with you.
Oh, absolutely. It's I'm a Halloween baby, so I've
Oh,
been raised on horror.
mm,
My mom had me watching. We had Theater of the Macabre, and it was our Macabre was our version of Elvira back when I was growing up. So I saw all the Universal Monsters movies when I was growing up, and I told you we saw in my Mr. Wilberding's class, we saw all of the Corman and Vincent Price movies.
Mhm.
And okay, so I went to a school that like five different tiny towns sent all of their kids to. It was in the middle of a cornfield and like cows on the other side. But we had all those sent to us in a class. We watched all those movies. I took a humanities class where we studied Hitchcock down to like we watched Vertigo. We
Oh,
watched the credits three times so that we could understand what Saul Bass was doing with it
the animated
and
credit.
how.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, so
Yeah,
far of
taking
it,
notes about.
people think that's AI. You know, they're so dumb. They
Yeah.
think a movie made back in 1960 is AI, you know, and they keep arguing that's AI. That's got to be
Yeah,
computer generated. No,
we
it's
had
just brilliant animation.
yeah, we had that, and then I had one of my history instructor would like if we were done for the day, he would turn off the lights and go sit in the back by the door and read us Stephen King. I don't know what it was about my high school, but I had a bunch of horror stuff presented to me in high school that a lot of people don't, and
Man, I would have loved to have
it
gone to.
That does sound pretty amazing.
yeah. Yeah, it's and I think about it, I was when I grew up, the first comic book that I ever read was the graphic novel of Stephen King's Creepshow because we
Yes.
had this tiny little library. I found out a couple of years ago that while I was there, my hometown's library was the smallest public library in the United States.
Hmm.
And I had the she's a smart kid, give her a pass, she can read whatever she wants. So I could go in at like age 8 and I was in the horror section. I read The Exorcist at age 8. That was kind of a bad idea.
Wow.
I needed a dictionary. And
Uh-huh.
then I was like, I'm not going to discuss that with my mother, I don't think. Yeah. But
Or a great idea. Yeah, well,
yeah. But yeah, that was the only graphic novel that they had, but like that was the first thing I read. So it was like, okay. But it was yeah, I've had this growing up. Like I had all the studying Hitchcock, studying all this. So I love hearing you guys like talking about it because I'm just like, yes, good
Yeah.
point. Oh
Well,
yes, I love
I
that too.
see your joy. I mean, it's so strange that horror induces a kind of a joy, you know, especially if it's just incredibly well done. And this is why I keep turning back to Poe because the writing is just sublime. The writing is sublime. Oh, I did want to mention though, because you brought up age, that you read what something at age 8, The Exorcist, and
Yeah.
I should mention right now that this version of Mask of the Red Death is not in any way, shape, or form for little kids. This is like for age 16 and up, and you'd have to be a very mature 16. So
Okay, so don't go buy this for your kids.
no,
Mark, if you see this later, your nieces are not allowed to read this until they're grown up, so
no,
don't do that.
but this
But
is absolutely a date book. I mean, if you watch the movie, the musical, the animatic motion comic of the musical is on Amazon Prime, and has been up there since last year.
oh
And
really?
if you didn't know this,
I
oh
didn't
my
I
God.
didn't I didn't I didn't I didn't find that. I have to
Oh
look
yeah,
it up.
all you have to do is search Mask musical, just those two words, and it'll take you straight to Mask of the Red Death, a musical thriller. And we're right next to Vincent Price's.
Oh my
oh,
gosh. All right.
that's so
That's
awesome.
yeah.
I am on that this weekend. I'm
You
on it.
It,
must watch this movie because, if nothing else, for the music. Gregory Neighbors has composed a score that, in my opinion, is right up there with Jekyll and Hyde or Phantom of the Opera or Sweeney Todd. He got he got what I was after with the story, and he was a comic book reader himself.
Yeah.
So
Well, what did they just do? That big Cavalier and Clay was now an opera, right? There was a big opera that did really well. These literary pieces that are becoming amazing musical art, is fantastic.
oh yeah, this is Frank Wildhorn's Death Note, for example, is just being I believe it's being premiered in London right now, but it did premiere in Asia, and it's based on this incredibly famous manga that has millions
Yeah.
of followers, but it's a horror manga. So
So, I mean,
I,
looking at spanning different media. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kari. Go ahead.
no. You go because I was going to pivot and you're staying on. So you go.
Oh, I was going to talk about just the media that you worked in that you had
mhm.
said this started off as a web comic.
Yes.
Um, what was that like for you? Because it was
Well,
a web comic, and then you released that, and then did you revisit any of it when you made it into the graphic novel? Did you leave it as it was? You know?
all all of the art assets for the webcomic went into the graphic novel, and the first version of the graphic novel was really a proof of concept. Richard produced a few of those, and they were intended to be used as pitches to producers or publishers. Um, it wasn't you could really say a complete version of the vision of Masque that I had in my head. It was the web comic as it came out, an episode a week, made up as I went along. And over the years it just got more and more refined, especially after the musical went into uh, production.
I, I really like to talk about storytelling
Yeah.
because to me it's just one of the most important things. And the artist is a storyteller as much as the writer is a storyteller, and musical scores. And one of your fans has just summed it up quite wonderfully with something in Wendy's technique makes multimedia out of the printed page. It's a movie, a concert, a theatrical musical. You get lost in it on so many levels, and it has become so many different things as well. Thank you for that, Two Gargs. I love how you are so adaptable and how in depth of a storyteller you are that you can pull forward all those feelings. And horror, I think, is the perfect genre for that because in other things people hide, and this is kind of play off the masks. We go behind the masks and you can do whatever you want. But when you're stuck in the middle of a horror story and everything's raw and you're out there, that's when you see who a real person is. That's when people act the way they need to get through, and you can't keep hiding. So
Oh, brilliant. One of my favorites, another favorite saying is that a costume, a mask, doesn't conceal who you are, it reveals who you are.
I like that.
You know, the costume that you choose to wear on Halloween says so much about you. You may not really think about it, but it really does. And again, in applying this to the characters in the graphic novel, costumes, of course, are a major factor throughout it because it is a huge masquerade ball. And our
Mhm.
wonderful little character, Bunch, is the creator of all these amazing costumes that the guests wear. And so for each one of the colored chambers, there are all these fabulously colored and designed costumes. Yes, there's an example. And I just went to town designing those costumes. Uh, I can't in my lifetime wear as many of them as I designed, but at
You can
least
try. Yeah.
at least I get to show people.
I I used to have a thing, and it was after when you work downtown in Lincoln, Nebraska, everybody knows each other in the service industry kind of thing. And so if you live close, we'd all come, you go to the bar afterwards, and then everybody comes over to somebody's house for after hours. And I had an apartment that was pretty close, so people would come over, and I kept a ton of masks on my wall.
Yeah.
And so when people would come over, everybody would put on a mask. And that's how we would
Oh,
hang out. We'd just be having our beers, but everybody had different. I had, different Mardi Gras style masks and just plain dominoes, but cat mask here and all sorts of things. So
and
that was,
everybody would choose which one they wanted.
yep. People
Oh,
come in,
cool.
and some people had favorites, and they'd change depending on their moods and stuff. They wanted to be this tonight or whatever. It was really weird, but it was a really fun time, and people it spices things up. It gives somebody a chance to be something.
Well, mystery. You put on a mask and then you become a mystery. And uh, when you're telling a story about characters that are multi-layered and have secret and very internal lives, and they're just not all out there in the open. They are secret and mysterious. Um, that creates a real fascination. And going back again to my manga roots, and the inspiration that I got from early yaoi comics is the idea of mysterious figures that are kind of androgynous. You can't pin them down to a gender, let alone to what kind of person they really are. And I find that kind of ambiguity so fascinating to explore.
Yeah, it
Kind
seems
of.
like there's also a bit of an empowerment to it, right? Whereas like if you put a mask on, you can be however you think you want to be without someone knowing who you are, right? So people come out in different ways or present in different ways with these masks,
Oh,
in
yeah.
a lot of ways. There's so much you can do with it, it seems, that you've been exploring creatively.
Well, I admit to that in my own work. My own work is every character I create, every set I design, every theme that I explore is something about me, something that I care about. I'm not necessarily coming right out and saying everything right out in the open. I'm speaking in metaphor. You know,
Hmm.
costume is a metaphor. A piece of music is a metaphor. A poem. It's all related. And again, this guy, nobody did it better than this guy.
It's like
Absolutely.
I'm gonna hold my coffee like the same way,
Hey,
Or
you
there
know.
you can love your coffee.
you.
I'm trying to pull up the
Sad but
Kickstarter
true.
to show it, and my I don't know. I'm having a fun time trying to do so. It's like, no, we don't want to look at this just now. Not
Oh,
really.
we want to talk about the Kickstarter because we're in the last week of it.
Yeah, you have 7 days, looks like 7 days left on the Kickstarter. You're
Yeah,
doing fantastic, which is
it,
amazing.
it's been amazing. Well, we made our goal. We made our initial goal within 3 hours. We were all
Fantastic.
blown away, but then it kept going, and so we've now like doubled and tripled, and you know, and this is going to be so wonderful because the more people participate, here we go. Oh, look!
Yes, I found it. It
Whoa!
for some reason just wasn't having any text on it. I had to click a blank thing and guess. We
Okay,
found it.
you found.
There
Yeah,
you go. Okay, I'm gonna click off mine then.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm just thrilled with where it's going, and we still have a week to go. And this is going to be so wonderful for Flesk Publications. It's going to absolutely ensure that everything gets done exactly as it should. And it's just you know
It's gonna be a beautiful book. I mean, you could just tell from,
Yeah.
from just, I mean, you, and then just from what you're showing here too, it just looks like it's gonna be phenomenal.
um
It,
it's going to be a hardcover, a soft cover, and then a deluxe cloth bound binding edition. Excuse me.
I
And
love how they're all different covers too.
yeah, this is all John Flesk's and his partner, Vicky Lean. Excuse me. This is their vision. This is their design, and we're just thrilled with it.
And it's a lot of book for the price points for a
Yeah.
Kickstarter. It's
Yes.
You're
Listen, let me go quickly get a drink of water. Richard's
yeah.
sitting right here, so I'm going to turn it over to Richard. Richard, you'll hear his voice, and he'll speak about the book for a minute.
okay.
Way to go.
You're getting tagged in. You're getting tagged in.
Yeah, no, I'm the pay no attention to that tech support behind the curtain. We are incredibly fortunate and pleased to be working with Blesk Publications because John and his partner Vicky have a sense of design that is second to none in this business of producing high-end quality art related books. Flesk Publications is working with William Stout and Mark Schultz and oh heavens, half a dozen other names that have just escaped me. They did three beautiful ElfQuest related art books about 10 years ago. And this is almost like a culmination as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's everything. It's the story, it's the lavish treatment of the story, and it's a publisher who knows how to deliver a book that is more than a book. It is a work of art. We couldn't have been more fortunate with this.
And
And
I
everything here,
love
I mean,
these.
the prints look great too. Sorry, go. I was looking at the prints and I'm like, that print's great.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, the book contains some wonderful extras. In addition to my version of the story, John Flesk suggested, why don't you also illustrate Poe's original story? Why don't we print that? And you do your own idea of how you would illustrate that. Yeah, and that just took me in a whole nother direction, which you will see. Uh, um, and that was a wonderful little challenge that he gave me, and I hope I measured up to it.
I just, I, you're going to make so much money off of me, lady.
Aren't you cute?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and this the red the signed deluxe. I mean, with the cloth. I mean, it looks like it's going to be an incredible package, and
But
it's
then,
limited to 500.
yeah, and each cover, I'm just like, well, I want that and that and that. Like you got to get everything. And I'm a sucker for a limited edition. I love it both in comics and in prose. I just spend a ridiculous amount of money so that I can get Clive Barker's signature on something. Um, but it, we're gonna show some of these
Oh,
pages here as
here
we
are
go
some
through.
pages. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. You've already looked at these, right?
Yes, I can't get them to go any bigger than this though.
Oh,
So
well, it's pretty easy to see.
And with some of the
yeah,
way you showed the double pages on here, you showed it open, you could really see what you did with with the layouts and the for the storytelling and the coloring when it's a double page with a similar color overlay on them. You
Hmm.
know,
yeah, it's a
Hmm.
nice, beautiful blue.
Oh yeah, blue is for words, and this is where Stefan declares his love for Anton. Something Anton isn't quite sure about yet.
do you do lettering as well on these?
No, we have a fantastic letterer, Nate Picos. He was
Oh
also
yeah,
letterer on ElfQuest: The Final Quest and Stargazer's Hunt. We've been working with him for some years now,
yeah.
and he did a sort of a futuristic take on the lettering here. It's got a little bit of a science fictional feel.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that's what I really enjoyed about it and why I asked because it seems we're talking about things that are organic, and when the lettering is feels like it's part of the artwork and part of the layout and part of the storytelling, that's fantastic, and that's what it looks like on these sample pages. So that's why I was wondering.
Well, you have to realize that this book is the summation of 20 years worth of work. It really began back in 2006 when the idea was first put forth, and it has gone through a lot of growth and a lot of changes, a lot of development, evolution of the characters, evolution of the dialogue, and it is now a really complete experience that you can hold in your hands. You
That's a good way to explain it. Yeah, yeah.
feel as if you've been to a theatrical experience just reading the book.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm just
that's Madame Kabbalah doing her bit. She is the most wonderful diva villain. I just loved working with her.
she's got her little carriage going for her of humans.
That's a big musical number she does in the musical. It's kind of a no holds barred, all out production.
So would you say is she more of a Madonna or um
I would say
what's
Lady
Marilyn?
Lady Gaga gone bad. You know,
Oh, okay,
she's a bad lady.
nice.
There's a bad romance. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
That
here we're going to,
now see here we're going through the seven chambers. So we're seeing the pages fully tinted in the color of whatever chamber we're in. Oh, and of course, the villainess must meet her horrible end.
I like that part. You
Yes,
got it.
she
Time to go from being brilliant to oh,
she even does that well. She's
Yeah.
that good.
Is there nothing you can't do? Yeah, right.
I wanted another. This guy or girl, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I don't need to misidentify your pronoun, but two guys. The story is like a silk wrap you love to wind around yourself, a sheer pleasure to touch and see. You should be a critic, I think. Like,
I
you need to go in and give reviews and be that person because you are delivering just delicious descriptions. I
Well,
love it.
Just
I have to let you know who this is. This is
Oh,
Michael McAdam, who narrated the wonderful video. That's the first thing you see on the Kickstarter page.
oh yes.
Uh,
okay.
Michael is a Renaissance man. He's a voice actor. He's a comics publisher. He's a writer. He's an actor. He's a dear friend who just happens to get Masque on every level and can talk about it beautifully ad infinitum and just adore him. And so very much wanted him to do the narration of the promo video for
Well,
the
now
kid.
I want him to read the comments.
You did a wonderful job, sir.
Yes,
I very much enjoyed that. So there was the book print. Here is the bonus print.
yes. This is
And
actually the first drawing I ever did of Anton and Stefan together. And Gregory Neighbors owns the original of this. The composer of the musical owns the original of this drawing.
that's awesome. And
Ah,
as we're going to look, I'm going to go through the other part in a little bit, but so we can see a little bit larger. But guys, when you go on, you got to get the add-ons. So you can add on extra copies of the book. You can get a bunch of the different. Uh, you get the Blu-ray set, which
mm,
okay, it's just cool that you have that. That's awesome. Is that the same one that you said is on
yes,
Amazon Prime right now?
this is what's on Amazon
Oh,
Prime.
okay.
Here I wanted
Okay.
to shout out to Ascendant Animation, our co-producers on this. This is a legit 2 hour movie, a motion comic. It's like an animated storyboard of what the musical could look like if it was fully staged. But more to the point, it's a movie, um, and it follows the graphic novel almost exactly, and just very exciting. Uh, I'm being reminded that it is 2 discs. This is a 2 disc set that includes some phenomenal extras, extra animation, commentary from the actors, and Can't say enough about that either.
Yeah, all the back matter. I love that stuff. I'm always telling them, like, give me your scripts. Let me see how did the drawing go. Show me the pencils and then the inks and then the stuff. I want to know all of that different stuff. I want to know how you got together with people, how you collaborated, and what everybody had to say. That's one of the most fun things. Is
Yeah.
sorry, Richard, but seeing the man behind the curtain sometimes just makes it a little bit better. You know. And then we get a bunch of ElfQuest covers paperbacks.
Well, these are examples of uh, some of the work that we've done with Flesk Publications, and the extraordinary art book, The Art of ElfQuest, and the covers book is really amazing, and the different, as you're looking at different versions of the covers book. These are all the covers of ElfQuest over the years. I mean, we've been doing ElfQuest almost 50 years now. And so you can imagine the amount of material that's in here and memories. As you flip through it, if you've ever been an ElfQuest fan, you'll just, your memories of the various issues those covers belong to will really come back to you.
And Dylan's going to tease me. He keeps raising the number higher and higher because he keeps seeing. But yeah, I intentionally have not backed you yet because I don't like let people to know how much they spend. But so I'll be backing this afterwards.
Oh,
Sorry, I picked up my
fabulous.
tears and stuff. But
Fab.
yeah, but as we were saying, I'm just looking over. It's really simple on yours to order it too. I love that you make it just one of 3 tiers. Pick one of those, then go in and get your add-ons. I know some people, and I love them to death. And some people will have like 13 or 14. I know somebody who goes up to about 50 different tiers that you can get that are all related to like, and you can get this package deal and this package deal. And if you want everything that I wrote from a different thing, you can get that mixed and matched with this one and that one. And it's great, but having it where it's just like order the book and then order the add-ons and have as many as you like of different things makes it really easy to go through and get it. And you $75 for a signed hardcover limited edition is ridiculously low. I,
It is
I
it is a great deal
Well,
for what you're
yeah,
getting.
this is
I'm used to spending over $200 for something like that when I do my book shopping. So
Well, this is John Flesk's expertise. He has done many Kickstarters before, and it has all worked out uh, very positively for him. He wants the books that he does to be accessible to as many people as possible, and that's how he sets his prices. And we are just thrilled with all the decisions he's made with regard to this.
Well, the way he described the book in the write up, all I was thinking was, I want to see what that feels like, because it seems so tactile. It's like, oh, there's cloth and there's this, it's, you could tell it's going to be something nice.
Well, John and Richard are soulmates in that regard. They are both publishers at heart, and even the smell of books is something that's in their DNA.
every time I get a book, I was going to ask, is there a digital version of this that you can get a hold of?
Oh, at the moment, I don't know. We haven't really gone there yet, but
Okay.
let's see what happens. See, the one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that we are premiering the Masque graphic novel at New York Comic Con this October.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, we're going to make a big deal out of it. And we will see after the premiere of the book how it does, and maybe we will discuss other things that can come of it as a result of that. And digital might be on the table for discussion at that point.
I ask only because whenever I get a new book, I if there's a digital version, I get the digital version because then I take my new book and I unwrap my new book and I open it and I take pictures of my new book and I give it a big sniff and then I give it a cuddle for a little while and then I bubble wrap it up and I put it back in my closet so that I don't damage it at all because I am the clumsiest person on the face of this earth and my this chair has had like 500 drinks and ashtrays and things knocked over on it and I never want to destroy my book so then I read it on digital but I can I can read a regular book. I do enjoy the feeling of reading. I just have to be careful when I do so.
I can understand that. You're one of those, and there are many who just treasure books almost as living things and take care of them that way.
Yeah, they need to be cuddled. They need to be loved, but they need to also be out of the way, out of range of anything.
They need to stay in circulation. They need to still exist always, not
Yeah, but
all digital
Now,
all the time.
now more than ever, now more than ever, we need people to read. We need people to rewire their brains back to where brains used to be, when brains had good discernment and good judgment and could follow a story all the way to the end and not get distracted by phones or, just the trillion and one distractions that we're all
Oh
subject.
yeah.
yeah, you shouldn't be like that. That is one good thing about reading the books. And I have about 700 or so physical books, which isn't a lot for some people, but it is for my mother's just like normal people don't have that. Normal people have like 10. I'm like, what do
Mm,
you think is normal?
mm.
Just
Be-
because
We
you don't.
If
we
normal
need to get those rooms with like the ladder, like
oh,
from My
Yeah.
Fair
the
Lady,
Beauty
where you're
and the
just kind of
Beast
going around.
library.
Yeah,
The library in Beauty and the Beast.
yeah.
Everybody
Be like,
wants one of those.
look at these are my normal people. They have books. They do things. And
Mhm.
when you're reading a paper book, it doesn't pop up. There's nothing that suddenly alerts you off of the page. It's you can keep reading it without getting distracted. It doesn't try to link you away to anywhere. So
Well, we with ElfQuest, Richard and I have always asked a lot of our readers. We give them really long, dense stories. The trend in comics now is to keep stories shorter and to keep the writing more, shall we say, brisk. you know, because holding people's attention nowadays is very, very difficult. People they've done a study where they've realized that students, for example, film students at UCLA, can't sit through a whole 2-hour movie. They have to take it in segments, and that terrifies me. you know, Being able to give your attention to a play or a book for the amount of time it takes to experience it, that wires you into being a person who can retain, being able to retain the input you take in and then refer back to it in your own life. That's also important. That's been the importance of books for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's about life, and it's about retaining the experience of the book and applying it to your life and being able to make decisions. That's what I'm hoping when people read this 400-page graphic novel, that they will go through the story and watch how the characters interact, how they make their decisions, where they make their mistakes. And I hope they will get something out of it and retain it and say, oh, yeah, I've made real boners in my life too. And I've made hasty decisions that I regretted later. And a lot of what happens in this graphic novel is about decisions that get made in haste without thinking first, and the consequences of that. The theme of no consequences comes from someone who doesn't think about what really could happen. You know, all of this is interrelated. The ability to follow a story, even if it's a horror story, and just get that life experience out of it.
And reading used to just be for the elite. It was
Yeah.
you had to be able to afford it, and you had to be able to learn and have the time to learn. But now it's kind of for everybody. But it's like I said, in little bits and pieces is all that's being fed out a lot these days. I'm saying this because I wanted our background because we started covering it and then I think we switched off. About the importance of this with the masks and what's going on in the world today,
Yes.
and how this release time is so poignant with people being able to hide themselves, and
And,
whether that's a good thing or not.
well,
And
they can hide themselves, but social media also exposes us to far more information, and not all of it, far from it, truthful information. Um, is more than human beings are really designed to handle. And every day we are processing so much input. Um, I think being able to sit down and read slowly, calmly, and being able to process what you're taking in is becoming a lost art. And and being relevant to what's going on today, you kind of have to address, um, in a way, you could say the party that takes place in the Poe story of people just partying their brains out while there's great suffering going on outside the castle, out in the world, and they're just ignoring it. We are seeing this every day on the internet. We are seeing people paying attention to ridiculous, trivial stuff when they should be paying attention to climate change, to what's going on politically, to war, famine, all those things that have been with humanity for as long as humanity has existed, and we still haven't solved those problems. And what we are seeing today is worse than ever. People are just paying attention to the most ridiculous, trivial, useless things, and being sucked into it, seduced into it every day. And that's what the party in the Poe Masque of the Red Death story is really about. People who just don't care and are just living only for themselves. The greed, the selfishness, the inability to see beyond their own pleasure. I tried to capture that and depict all of that in the graphic novel and the consequences of that.
And the idea that books and this book and books in general, it's sort of it's a way to introduce new ideas and introduce new ideas to people who were reading these things. And that's why, I feel, for so much time, people are so scared of books. People are banning books. People are essentially looking at ideas and saying, we don't want you to think for your own. We don't want you to have these ideas. Because that's where it is. If you can sit down and read something, that's where you're getting information and thinking and processing,
Oh, yeah.
differently
But
than through scrolling and other media.
it's an honor to be banned. the,
Yeah.
the first time I hear that Masque has been banned somewhere, it did get banned actually. Back in 2011, I was attending an anime con in Reno, and we had one of the prototype books on the table just so people could flip through it, and I got told to take it off the table.
in Reno?
In Reno, Nevada,
Wow.
at an anime con, 2011.
Damn,
There you
that's
go.
Yeah. So it already has been banned once. Let's see what happens. Given the content, given where we go in this story, boy, there are so many things that certain people would object to. But I think that's the strong selling point.
I mean, I'm gonna be
Yeah,
going
for
to
sure.
Reno in October, and the only two things that I know about Reno are that you can gamble there, and it's legal to hook up with a prostitute there. And so that's like what I think of when I think of Reno. And you're like, yeah, my book was too much for Reno, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay,
Now that's an honor, isn't
hey Austin,
it?
yeah, to be just like, well, you know, I'm too hot for Reno.
Too-
I think
that's the shirt. That's the shirt right there.
yeah,
Too
I
hot
think
for Reno. Yeah.
motion, yes.
And last we were kind of talking about with the masks and kind of people these days are we have members of the government and stuff that are going out and wearing masks and using them to do bad things and hide behind when as I we were talking about a little bit earlier before you guys all joined us um back like 10 years ago, if you guys remember when all the clowns were showing up and bothering people, and then like they pointed out how in every state it's against the law to be wearing a mask, and if you're wearing a mask, well, to be wearing a mask to commit a crime. If you're
Mm,
doing something like this, it adds on to it. And
mm,
now it's like we're letting people put on masks so that they can't be identified to do what most of us are considering to be a crime.
mhm.
And
Th-
it's being encouraged.
This
And
this is one of the most terrifying things about life right now. That what used to be fictional material like 1984 or Fahrenheit 451 is all appearing to come very true right now. It's terrifying.
there's my Bradbury. Yes, it. I don't know how to. You wake up and you're like, wow, this was reality, and they all nailed it, and it just coming right up.
Yeah, the
It,
world's gone from fiction to documentary very, very quickly in
Yeah.
some ways. You know, and you look at that, and it was, these these writers, sort of seeing, reading the tea leaves and seeing what futures might present. Um, it's pretty unbelievable.
Well, in a sense, I kind of have had that happen to me.
Mhm.
First version of the Mask story came out started in 2007 as a webcomic, and it has turned out to have elements in it that prove to be almost prophetic. I've got a villain in there based on a certain guy whose name starts with T, and and he launches a biotechnical plague. And what happened back in 2020? You know, I mean, it's
yeah,
it's creepy.
and
So I think when you use your imagination, you are tapping into the zeitgeist. They call it the zeitgeist, the kind,
Mhm.
the universal consciousness. And there are certain things that we can all tap into that we have a sense could really happen. Ray Bradbury, Orwell, I think they sent their imaginations out there, and it turned out that it was predictive because they tapped into something universal.
welcome to being a violent person, because I just read today how they published a paper that all allies for transgender and queer people are more violent when it comes to things politically, and we're more prone to being violent in general because they had 5 people study a couple of other people, and let's just say it was very highly based on the people who wrote the paper, and the things that they asked about were all very skewed in one direction.
The
And
amount,
so you've
the
been an ally for so long before it was even really brought out there, you
yeah,
know?
the amount of lies that we're subjected to, the amount of propaganda that is based on hate. Again, I can only use the word terrifying. And I do believe that it is the responsibility of artists and writers and people who love artists and writers and support them. We are all a community, and it is our job right now to tell the truth as we see it, and to combat the lies and falsehoods and hatreds that we are being subjected to on a minute by minute basis in a size, in a scope that we almost can't describe now. It's our job as artists and writers and people who love art to put all of our strength and all of our love behind telling those stories, telling the truth, combating the darkness with the truth. You know,
I
I know I'm sounding very political right now, but I'm passionate about this. I've been passionate about this since the Golden Escalator incident in 2016. And people who know me and know my work know I'm very outspoken about this. And of course, a lot of that passion went into Masque.
I I very much appreciate that. We need more people like you speaking up, doing things, making projects that so many people love that can bring out and show like no, this isn't about hatred. This is love is not dark and horrible. It's it doesn't have to be. It can
Look,
be
And your
beautiful.
passion and candor speaks volumes about, putting it into the work and, trying to get, you know, ideas out in the world and a piece of yourself, out in the world, um, to reach people, to leave something, legacy wise.
well, why did this guy literally give up his life to follow his passion and do what he absolutely had to do, no matter how much it hurt him, no matter how much it beat him down. I mean, most people who know Poe's works at all know that he had a very brief, very tragic life, that he suffered a great deal. He was tremendously empathic. And he felt the suffering of others, and he wrote about it. The things that horrified him, and it's odd because he wasn't a moralist. Edgar Allan Poe didn't sit there and point out what he thought was right and wrong. He simply told everybody what happened and left it to the reader to decide what was right, what was wrong, what should have been done, and what failed to get done. This is another thing I find remarkable about Edgar Allan Poe, and why it was so urgent in me to interpret my favorite story of his. He had a passion for telling what he saw as the truth, and it got him into trouble a lot. He made a lot of enemies. And there's still a great mystery surrounding his death. Nobody knows really what happened. There's been a lot of theories. But he could not stop telling his truth his way. And you two were just talking about putting ideas out there, and not being afraid to put ideas out there. That's another thing. Fear is stopping I think a lot of people from speaking up, speaking out. And who needs to speak out more than artists, writers, musicians? We've all got to speak out.
Yep, gotta lead the crusades that we can and support the
In the
ones.
way we can, yes.
Yeah. Um, we've been going for about an hour and a half now, so I wanted to wrap things up, let you have the rest of your evening. But do you have any cons or anything? You mentioned you have the one coming up in October. What do you have all going on right now besides just the Kickstarter? This is a huge Kickstarter, but
Well, I would say not much in terms of personal appearances. New York Comic Con is going to be our last convention appearance for this year because Richard and I have plates that are so full of work that we're doing right now. We are getting ready for a massive celebration in 2028 of ElfQuest's 50th anniversary.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's
it's
amazing.
50
Yeah.
years, 50 years of pointed ears. And we are working closely with Dark Horse Comics on a number of projects, none of which I can talk about right now, only when Dark Horse says so. But these are all in line to help us celebrate the 50th anniversary of ElfQuest and just go out with a bang.
And it sounds like you're gonna New York Comic Con is gonna be an event to behold with premiering the book and all of that. But if you're going to New York Comic Con, definitely stop by both of your table and spend some time and check it out.
Well, we are so happy to be guests again there this year, and we are just going to make the most of it because it'll be the last one for a while because we got to work.
Right. And last, where do you like to have people reach out and catch you and follow you on social media and
Oh,
such?
we have a huge presence on social media, Instagram. My gosh, I could list every platform. We have a marvelous social media director, David Misajewski, and you can find Richard and me. We have our own pages on Facebook. There's the ElfQuest fan page. Masque of the Red Death has its own page. Masque also has its own website, masquemusical.com. These are so easy to find. Just do a search on ElfQuest and it will all come up. Do a search on Masque of the Red Death. It'll Pini, but Pini Masque of the Red Death, not Poe, Pini, and all the information will come up. We do have such a large presence on social media.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We had a ton of people here tonight. I love you all and appreciate you for showing up and checking this out. Please go over and support if you haven't yet the Kickstarter. Love you too, Dylan. And Aaron, do you have anything else before we take off?
Nothing to add. Just thanks so much everyone who joined, and thank you, Wendy, so much for a great chat.
Aaron, I thought you were a great guest host and you had some marvelous things to say. And Kari, I just got such a kick out of you. I can tell how much you love what you do. And, it was great spending time with you. I had no idea we went as long as we did, but I could keep
Yeah.
going.
Well, I glanced up. I'm like, oh my, we've been going for an hour and a half. So thank you very much, everybody, and we will talk to you soon. And hopefully, we'll have you back on later in the year for another show for over on Splash Pages. We'll try to get that arranged.
Would love to.
All right. See you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.